beginning, in Disney films such as Cinderella and Snow White, Disney has promoted the idea of wishing upon the star, which makes your dreams come true, whether a fairy godmother arrives to you or a genie. Now, since then, Disney has started to move away from this trope, as it is kind of old-fashioned, and they've gone into newer films like Princess and the Frog with a more anti-fairy tale sort of mind, where wishing upon the stars don't help you, all the way up to ones like Moana, and of course more recently Ralph Breaks the Internet. But of course, before we can talk about the sequel, we have to talk about the first film, which kind of first approaches this idea of happiness and all sorts. So, here's a summary of Wreck-It Ralph. So Ralph is a bad guy in the game, but the truth is he doesn't want to be the bad guy anymore. He wants to get medals, he wants to live happy lives like Felix, and he just wants his whole world to change. But ultimately, he can't do that. However, he finds out he can win a medal at this game in the arcade, this other game, called Hero's Duty. And he was determined to get that medal so he can prove to everyone he can be a hero. However, things ultimately end up going wrong, and blah 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 blah. He ends up getting the medal, however, but things just ultimately still go wrong. He ends up in a jet of some sort with a cyborg, and ends up going all the way to another game, Sugar Rush. Ralph realises his medal's on another tree, and attempts to get it himself. However, he bumps into a sugar plum fairy kid person called Vanellope, and she ultimately stops him from getting his medal, and decides she's going to take the medal herself so she can win the race, you know? But yeah, that's where else we're at. So Vanellope steals the medal because, you know, she's going to help win the race. She gets on the leaderboard. However, Ralph isn't happy. He goes after Vanellope, but he ultimately ends up getting caught by King Candy, and Candy tells him to go away because he doesn't want Ralph to take over his game and be like a Turbo sort of character. And yeah, so he tells Ralph to get out. But Ralph's not having it. He decides that he needs to confront the winner and get some sort of deal so he can get his medal back. However, when he sees Vanellope being bullied by the other kids, he chases him off because it was the right thing to do. And you ultimately decide to agree to help each other by making Vanellope can't help her to win. So he helps her practice, and she gets pretty good at it, so them two eventually start bonding together. King Candy, meanwhile, gets Ralph's medal back so he can make a deal with him. He tells Ralph that if Vanellope wins the game and people think the game's broken, it'll be shut down. And he claims that Vanellope won't be able to escape, and he wants the best for his people, and it would basically be a disaster. And Ralph, because he's close with Vanellope, he wants to protect her. So he has to do the hardest thing ever to prevent her from racing. He destroys her card. Vanellope is distraught and says that Ralph is a bad guy. She no longer agrees with him. Ralph ends up going home, but things aren't like how he left it. People left because Felix left and him left. There was no game anymore. The game's broken. Gone. However, when Ralph was on the balcony, he realised that Vanellope is actually on the side of the game, so she can't be glitched. So he asked Sour Bill about it. And Sour Bill claims that King Candy tried to delete her code, and then caught everyone's memories inside some sort of chest, literally. Meanwhile, Calhoun stumbles across a whole patch of cyborg eggs that could ultimately destroy the game. Ralph returns to the castle and he finds Felix, and he asks him to fix Vanellope's card. He fixes it and comes to Vanellope, and they become friends again. Meanwhile, after that, Vanellope ends up going in the race, and she's really good. However, they come across another issue. The cyborgs are now taking over the whole entire game, and things are just going out of hand. Ralph starts being worried for Vanellope. And back to Vanellope. Vanellope and King Candy are going 1-to-1 on the race, and she ultimately almost overtakes him. However, King Candy goes crazy and he ends up revealing his true identity of being Turbo, the exact character that he was accusing Ralph of earlier, who took over another game in the past. Vanellope manages to glitch her way out of the situation, and eventually King Candy ends up getting eaten. Vanellope's almost at the end, except for the cyborgs keep on appearing from everywhere, destroying the whole race, and everything just goes crazily out of hand. Ralph decides he needs to save Vanellope because she can't leave, so he decides the best way to do that is by making the cyborgs go away. And he's like, well, let's make a volcano erupt and it will make them all go to the light. Once he comes across Turbo, and they have a one-to-one battle, and yeah, things don't go very well. Ultimately, Ralph ends up making an ultimate sacrifice, sacrificing himself to save everyone else, because there's no way he'd be able to survive an eruption, especially if he's the one creating it. So he goes down and admits he just wants to be himself, he doesn't want to be good, doesn't want to be bad, he just wants to be him. He almost ends up dying, however, Vanellope sweeps him and saves his life. And this is ultimately where the film ends off. So Vanellope is a princess, but she wants to be herself still. And Ralph agrees he's going to stay bad for a while, but he's happy, but he could be happier, but he can never be his fulfillment of happiness. And this is kind of where the video kind of leads on. Calhoun and Felix get married, and Ralph is now satisfied with his life. He's not complaining, and he has a new friend now, called Vanellope, on Sweets. Today, guys, I'm going to show you how Wreck-It Ralph 2014 film shows how failure can ultimately create happiness. Okay, let's get to it. So in the start of the film, Ralph wants to be good. Like, that's all he wants to be, like Felix. Will he succeed in that? Well, kinda. He gets the medal, which shows he's good, but ultimately he doesn't feel good because he had to sacrifice his friendship with Vanellope to gain it, which doesn't feel right, doesn't feel like a hero, even though the medal represents him being a hero. So he sees by befriending Vanellope, he feels more like a hero because he's being supported by someone that believes in him. But he doesn't feel like an object. It shows that true feeling towards him as an actual person does. It feels like if you want to be good, but you ultimately can't be good, it's all quite complicated, really. In summary, he feels Ralph is basically happier through his failure. Because if he ultimately got what he wanted, like here, he'd have no friends, nobody would be supporting him because he'd be on his own, and it ultimately looked like the villain that he doesn't want to be. Ultimately, by having friends, he has people that support him, which is why he's happier through his failure. Because by failing, he gained friends he never thought he'd ever had. And of course, by sacrificing himself for them as well, it just shows how much of a hero he can be. He doesn't need to have a medal to show him. Like, he's still bad, but he's happier. He's finally accepted by Felix and Vanellope and Calhoun and like everybody. And he decides ultimately he's going to stay the bad guy, but he's a much happier bad guy now. He's still bad, but he is way happier. If Ralph succeeded and got the medal and came home and it was ultimately his future he wanted, it wouldn't be right. Because ultimately he'd be the bad guy because he'd be putting his emotions and happiness before everyone else's. However, if he wants to reprogram himself to be happy, like Turbo, he'd end up removing the happiness of someone else, such as Vanellope. So he'd have to trade positions with someone happier. Ultimately, he could be ending Felix's happiness for his own, which is both selfish and that's just, he's been worse bad guy than he was before, and that he just wouldn't ultimately get anywhere. He wouldn't feel earned. He feels like if he wants to be a good guy, he has to earn the happiness from his friends. Because if he stuck with it and was like an isolated villain and just like took over games, and he just ended up being another Turbo, and that's just not right. Which is why it's good he failed. But you see, you have to find happiness through the failure. And ultimately, by failing and ending up in Sugar Rush, he ended up meeting Vanellope, and if he never did that, he would have never met Vanellope, and he would have never been accepted. So ultimately, by failing to get the medal home safely and stuff, he ended up making his life better for himself. Because, like I said, he gets new friends, he's accepted, it all looks a lot good for him. Now let's head back to the question. Well, start video. So let's go about the wish upon the stars thing. This film shows you don't have to be a fairy godmother to make your dreams come true. It also shows you won't get your dreams straight away. It shows that sometimes you have to create new dreams out of the ones that have gone wrong. And ultimately, you don't need to be successful to be happy. You just need people to look out there for you. And that's what I think ultimately this film shows.
I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
Anyway guys, that's today's video. Hope you guys really enjoyed it. Remember to comment if you love Disney, and I'll see you all soon. And tell me in the comments down below if you're going to see a Wreck-It Ralph 2. I sure am. Bye everyone!